Hi, it's Nancy welcoming you to Garden Scroll.
I clipped this little redhead down and put some pieces of it in, I think both of these. I can't remember if I already had one in one of them or not, but you can tell this one's wilted a bit. And our hotter weather is back. It's going to get up to 90. It feels like it already is. I'm not sure if it is or not, but there is a nice breeze here under the shade of our weeping willow. And I lifted my little butterfly plant stand, up just a little bit by putting a window box underneath it. But it looks much better. This morning, of course, the moss was blooming pretty, but it's getting a little bit late for the moss now. My little start that I had for my sister died, so I'm not sure how to take a start off of this. I did have one that came out on the stalk. I may wait for another. I've been thinking about just clipping the top out of it, but I don't want to lose mine and the one I'm trying to do for her, so I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet. I put a few more things in this little pot, but they're going to have to come out of the transplant before they really make a showing. I trimmed these little coleuses down, and I think when they fill out they're going to look better than they did actually. They were looking good, but they were definitely covering everything up inside the pot. And I trimmed back my pussy willow tree so that you could see along the edge of the fence and back behind this. Oh, I also put that little bird back up there, but I see she slid right off. I'll have to try that again. So I put some more glue on, and this time I'm going to let it dry slightly before I put it back. But I also wanted to show you that I cleared out so much over here that there was a rose bush back here that was just going crazy and all over on the other side of the fence. So I clipped that all back out, and hopefully it'll be back prettier than ever too. But it looks better now for sure than it did. And I'm thinking I might need a mum or something right here in this little kind of bare spot, although it did have some cosmos there, but they were grown up way out of hand too, so I clipped them back. I just think they look prettier when you can see the little frilly as well as the pretty bloom, instead of where they just bunch up together and they don't look as frilly. And I think I want to find some low growing, something to put in front of these. I had something there, I think it was impatiens, but for some reason they didn't make it. So I would like to replace it with something low growing and that has a pretty colorful bloom. I might need to take a trip to Express Garden Center and see if they might have some trailing periwinkle. So we will see if she can stay up there this time. I didn't get this little spot while we had our cooler weather, but actually got out here, well, it was late this morning before I got over here, and it's hot. But I was able to clean out the worst part of this and get out the old verbena that was going to seed, and I want some of it, but I don't want that much of it. It just gets to be a problem more than a beauty when it can get too invasive. So, but it looks so much better with the old dead zinnias out, and it'll give fresh new zinnias a chance to come back on if we don't get too hot of weather for too long. I know that the next 2 days is supposed to be in the hundreds, or at least up to 100. But I think I'm going to give the garden, working in the garden, a break until it's time to water this afternoon. And so I'm leaving it with a hope for many more cooler days, some to do a lot of work because I didn't get it finished, but some to just enjoy the beautiful weather and the beautiful garden. Oh, look, you can see that the decorative pepper plant is getting red. And I have another hibiscus bloom this morning. When I watered last night, I thought when it gets cool again, this will bloom. But it didn't wait. It didn't wait for that cool weather. It just went right ahead and bloomed. And this, of course, is my variegated hibiscus. It has the pretty hang down stamens. Today is August the 21st at 5:45 in the afternoon or evening, and it is 103 or 4 degrees, so it is hot, but we are looking to have some cooler weather next week. It's not going to be until at least Saturday, I think, and then it's just going to be a few degrees cooler, which will be good, even just that little amount. So we're ready for it. I think most people are ready for fall. I love summer, but it's just too hot for me. And while I don't want to wish my life away, I do wish for some time to enjoy being in the garden again before we tell it goodbye for the season. Remember when we clipped this little petunia back and I wondered if it would do anything, but it's already trying, and we're still having that hot weather, so I'm thinking if they can just make it a little bit longer to the cooler weather, they will be pretty again. But this one where I clipped it back, the petunia that was here, it's not going to come back. And I did put some more little clippings in here, these little coleus clippings, but as you can see, they're not doing well. They probably won't live. I'm not quite ready to just go ahead and take them out, although this one I am. It's just gone anyway, so I'll have to try again on this one when the weather gets cooler, but some of them may still make it. We'll see. But I'm glad I did go ahead and put a few of these little dew plants in this pot too, so that it won't be just totally empty. But I miss my little peachy pink with a yellow throat petunia. And not all of my little clippings that I put in when it rained that time made it, but some of them did. I'm pretty sure these little redhead coleus are going to live. They've already got a root, you can tell, or they wouldn't have been able to pick themselves up this much. So I think if they made it through this heat, they could really look pretty by the end of our fall. Hopefully we'll have a nice fall. I always hope for that. But like I say, not all of them are going to. I'm pretty sure this one is not. Although it may, this part of it right here does look like it's got its root going. I may go ahead and trim this dead part off and see if that one will even live. I'm going to rustle off some of this dead stuff because I want to show you that there are little bits of green coming back up. Can you see this one right here? And let me do some more of that and I'll show you again. So there, I rustled off most of the old dead stuff. You can see it's down here on the bed of the raised bed. But even though they're still just little stalks like I showed you earlier, and it's still in the intense heat, so once some of that heat dissipates and we have a little cooler, just a little cooler will help them. But once you take the old dead stuff off, they really do try so hard to regenerate themselves, and some of them make it, so we'll see what will happen. I'm amazed already that even this many of them have put on little new leaves and are trying to be pretty again. Been coming out every morning all week to show you when these open, and one of them fell off without ever opening and the other one has still not opened, so I wouldn't be too surprised if it doesn't eventually do the same. We are in for a few days of slightly cooler weather, out of the 100s and into the 90s and high 80s, so nothing to be so excited about, and yet, you know, we grasp at every little straw when it gives us a chance to get out of the intense heat of summer. And I have told you that my little cactus I tried saving for my sister Kathy died, so I did it. I did go ahead and clip the top out of my pretty little crown of thorns. Oh, I hope I didn't harm it. I hope it'll just keep right on going. We'll see. I also put some little cuttings in several things last night as I was watering. So I'm hoping these will make my last days of this gardening season beautiful. I hope the weather will get nice enough to get out here and just enjoy. And I hope the little plants and I are able to make it, or to renew ourselves enough that we can enjoy that time. I put a few more little cuttings in this little pot too of sedum. I'm not sure they're all the same color, but it won't matter. They'll all be beautiful. Even a mixture of colors can be very pretty. And this is the little top out of my cactus, and I am going to give it the best start that I know how by putting it in a clay pot and using the cactus, palm, and citrus potting mix for it. So there, she has been transplanted into this pot, or not really transplanted, but clipped off and rooted in, and I used just a rooting powder. I think it's called Garden Safe, and I like to keep some around because you never know when it will come in handy. And so hopefully this little plant right here will get gorgeous, and my other little plant will still live. I hope I didn't kill it by taking this off the top of it. And then also I hope that this one will go ahead and root and grow and become beautiful for my sister Kathy. And also look at this little plant. Last year my airplane plant made it wonderfully through the winter, which is my main problem, but then when I brought it out, it just couldn't get used to it, and I didn't move it in and out, so I didn't stratify it enough or at all, and the poor little thing didn't make it. But my friend Oma gave me this morning, and we had a nice little visit. And this is the plant like I got for my stepdaughter Laura, and I wanted to tell you, Laura, if you're listening, that they say this little plant doesn't live much over a year, but if you want to keep it going, you can clip a piece of it off and put it in rooting powder. And I've also read, and I haven't tried it, but I've read that you can dip it in honey, that it also acts as does the same thing that a root developer powder will do. So if you don't have some and don't want to get a whole little bottle, and don't be coming to see me soon enough to just take a little bit of mine home, either way, but you can try that honey and see if it'll work, and hopefully you can root a piece of yours and then keep it going, so that when your original one does die, hopefully these will live. And like I say, I just put this in today, so I have no idea if it will go ahead and root, but I'm certainly hoping it will. Wouldn't that be wonderful to keep this pretty little purple plant going? Look at this pretty little bougainvillea. I'm finally getting some bloom. And oh my goodness, you should see my friend Alma's plumeria. She got it the same time I got this one. This one is, including the pot and all, it's probably 3 foot tall maybe. Almost was, oh my goodness, 5 foot tall or so. Maybe not quite, but it was very close. Matter of fact, I took a picture of it, and I'll try to put that on for you. And it also had bloomed and still had a few blooms on it, so I will show that to you when I put this together. So one thing, at least we have a slightly cooler day to do this, so I'm going to actually leave these outside for a little while. They came from being outside, but I know that's a whole different story when you're rooting something in that doesn't even have a root yet and has to make its little root. But I think because that's what they're used to, it might be the better way to try to get them to start. But when that 100-degree weather comes on, unless they already have their little root built, they'll come inside. But they could have a root built by then. That'd be great. Look, this is one of my little plants that I snipped off and replanted. It's dying all around the side, but look at that center. You know what this means when it gets this standing upright and at attention and looking green. That means it's building its root. So I can trim off all this old dead crisped up stuff, and it will grow from this little root most likely, unless something else happens to stop it. It's on its way. Today is August the 29th, and it won't be long now before our little houseplants will be going inside for the winter. These little begonias are looking a little bit on the pitiful side. They looked so good for so long, but when the rain stopped and the heat came on, they began to struggle. they're still alive, so hopefully they'll live through the winter. But you know I have a terrible time with getting things to live through the winter. But look at this little begonia. Oh my goodness. It has not missed, well, it may have missed a beat. Here's one that's gone. Matter of fact, I could take that one off now, most likely. I think I took the wrong one off. So I'm going to get this other one too. But these are gone. But look how beautiful it stayed all this season. So I do need to get these in just real soon. I dread all that job, of course, but I want to save my little plants if I can. This one actually did well through the winter last winter, so I'm hoping that I'll get to keep this one. You know, I'm hoping I'll get to keep all these too, and they'll be back as beautiful as they once were. And when I watered last night, I noticed that this little bud that I was waiting, it's gone now because it did go ahead and fall off. This little sedum is turning more and more to its fall autumn joy colors. And the autumn clematis is beginning to bloom. We'll see how much of this little obelisk will be totally covered in pretty white bloom. She's hiding over there, but there is a little wren. I wish I could get her on here for you. Can someone tell me why some of the pampas grass looks like this and others have the big, thick, fluffy seed heads that look so pretty? That's what I wanted, of course. But I still like these. I like the way they wave in the breeze, and I love the way they bring the birds, because they will know. They absolutely pick this out when it's at the peak of perfection. And then they will be all over this. They'll land on it, and the tiny little weight of their bodies will bring it down just a little bit and bend it over. And then they eat the seed off of it. And it's fun to watch them. When I'm out here having my breakfast and they're just across from me having theirs. When I showed you that I trimmed some of these petunias down, I did not know if they would pick themselves up, but you can see this one has, and this one has just a little bit. So it's always a good thing to try. I do, however, have several that were not able to renew themselves, and they're gone. Today is September the 1st, and we've had some slightly nicer weather, but it's been ever so slight. Trying to get this hummingbird moth for you. It's kind of like we just had a wonderful start to our gardening season until about the end of the second week of July, and then, oh my goodness, the bottom dropped out and the rain stopped coming and the heat started coming, and it's just been such a struggle ever since then for me and the garden. But we know that fall is coming. I wish it would hurry up. And I know I'm not the only one that wishes that too. Every gardener probably wishes that to some extent. When I walked over here, these little birds were just all clustered up. Oh, they're starting to do it again. I was hoping I could get this for you. I've got some water running over there and they are loving it. They're like, let's enjoy this water while we've got it, because we know it won't last. But aside from some pretty bright spots in the garden is looking tired. Like these little blue cardinal plants, they're giving it up. How I'll miss the garden when it's gone, but honestly, I won't miss all that work. Maybe, just maybe, I'll get something done in my house. You know, I think I told you that my husband and I watched The Fastest Indian with Anthony Hopkins, and there are just so many little lessons in that story, and actually that's one of them, when he didn't mow his lawn and actually hadn't even been thinking about the lawn. So, you know, but that happens when we have a goal, a dream, something we're going to get finished regardless. The rest of the stuff gets put on the back burner, and I've mentioned that before too. But, you know, even if you have several ranges, there's only so much the back burners can hold. Look at this beautiful zinnia, and it is looking a little faded. I'll take this one off for seed, but isn't that just a pretty form? But I am looking so forward to the day when I can come out and get excited about being out in the garden, when the weather is nice again and the garden is renewing itself. I hope we have some time like that. Definitely hope that will happen. But I've got to start thinking about bringing plants in now. This is where I took my little cutting off my crown of thorns cactus, and it is looking good. At least it's not dying there. It's not looking bad at all, and my sister's is looking good too. It looks like it may actually even be picking itself up a little bit, which means it may be building its root. Oh, maybe it'll work this time. That would be great. There's so many things to do, you know, for each season, each part of each season, and now it's time to bring in the house plants. So I'll be wanting to do this very soon. I don't want to wait until the nights get too cold for them. I want to enjoy them again next year. Not that I would say I want to enjoy them in my home, but honestly, they struggle in my home. But if I can just save them. I saved this little one last time, but I lost the other one. But Oma has just recently given me a little start from her, so we'll see if it will last through the winter for me. And I will plan on bringing in my begonias, my Rex begonias. They look so bad right now. They're just, I'll have to trim off a bunch of this old dead looking stuff. Hope and pray for them. That's all I can do. And hope this little one just keeps going. It has been doing. It did last year. Oh, I hope that wasn't a fluke. I hope it's just that this little plant may be tougher than the other begonias and can maybe even handle growing up in Oklahoma. And these, I'll just hope that they will live for me to come out and be beautiful again, because they were beautiful earlier when we were getting all that rain. They thought they were right next to heaven. As it turned out, they liked that rain, and they didn't mind the heat, but they did when the heat came without any rain. I think it's even too hot for my little hibiscus. They've just been trying to bloom for several days and then just dropping off. We'll see if these will make it or not to bloom. And I tried to start chartreuse rose hibiscus, but it didn't make it, and I think that was my very last seed. But I'll look and see if I can find the plant again someday, because it was definitely a favorite for me. And while not all of my little cuttings that I clipped off and put in rooting powder lived, some of them have. This is one of them. I did have to trim a lot of around the edges, and you can see there's still a little bit more, but you can also tell that this is alive and has a root and is ready to go. And this little coleus is a clipping that I had in the garden last year. I took a little clipping of it and put it in the window and brought it back out, and it is looking great. It's just looking so good. I'm so proud of it. And I did take some clippings of it too. Actually, this is also part of the one that I brought out from the window clipping, but there's some little ones here if I can find them for you to show you. But this is, nope, that's not it. This is one of them right here, and it's starting to look pretty. This one is too. I'm surprised at that, really, because the last time I looked at it, it didn't look all that great. But when they pick their little root, when their root is made, and they'll pick them little selves up and go. But until then, look, they look somewhat like this right here. They just struggle so, and they'll never be able to heal some of that, but I will clip some of that off too. So disappointed this year. My little begonia, my dragon wing begonia, usually takes off and fills this pot up all by itself and grows several, like at least 2 foot tall and just full and beautiful. But this year it just didn't do it. Sometimes it's just not our year, I guess. One of my new subscribers asked me recently if I'm going to do mums this fall, and of course they're actually already out here. They're just not in bloom yet, but they will begin to bloom. It'll still be a while, I think, before they do, but when they begin to bloom, we'll have lots of color. These will probably all be gone, the tall Laura phlox, and but these will put on that, keep that little garden show going for us with lots of pretty color. And look, the ironweed is blooming today. It's been kind of sparsely blooming here and there. What part of it hasn't died? Some of it has just browned up, and I took it out, so looks so terrible. You can see this one right here is doing the same thing, but this looks fresh and pretty. It made it to shine. And I see I have a new hibiscus bloom on the Copper King hibiscus today.
Please be sure to like and to subscribe to the channel.